When there was an opportunity for Coach Pruitt to bring in Derek, I mean, what were those conversations like with you and Coach Pruitt when you knew that?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we're here to win. All right, we're here to get this place the way it needs to be, to win championships and do the things that we came here to do. Every year there's going to be transition, there's going to be changes, So you take that and you go with it and you do what's best for the program, So it's good. I've known DA for a long time. We were at Alabama together, so it's not like any of the people that we most of the time bring in or you work with. You don't have some kind of previous relationship with from some other place.
Ignat looks like he's slimmed down a little bit, moving a little bit quicker, and obviously showing some more leadership out there. What have you kind of seen from him, and specifically the growth this year?
Yeah, I agree. He's a little more confident. Last year he did a really good job of kind of calling the defense. But the confidence and kind of anticipating being in the second really go-around of it, he's done a really good job. He's played multiple roles, whereas last year he did that, but he was never really on the forefront on a lot of third down stuff. But now he's kind of heading up a lot of the third down, which you've got to be like the quarterback out there. You've got to run the show, get everything set, communicate with the secondary and everything. He's done a really good job of that.
How much of a difference can you tell with Will and Daniel being in the second year of the defense, having a year on the system now?
Last year, every day was a new day, okay? So when you hit the second day or the first day of the second year, they know what to expect. So, they saw it last spring, they saw it in the summer, they saw it in the fall. Now this is really their fourth time to be presented a lot of the same information, at least terminology-wise. So it's like speaking the same language now as opposed to every day you're giving them new words and things like that. So they're just a lot more confident. You can communicate. Now, for the most part, you're teaching them how to play the position instead of how to operate in the position.
When you coach special teams, that entails a variety of different units. How do you get yourself to where you can coach all of that?
It's hard for one person. I mean, the whole staff's involved in some way. Coach Pruitt's heavily involved. The staff, other than the coordinators, are going to be heavily involved. But Coach Ansley even comes over there and helps us with a lot of that type stuff too. So, you have to be really organized. There's a lot of guys, QC guys like Carter Blunt, Tyler Gilliam as a student assistant. They help get a lot of the paperwork and organization done behind the scenes, and then they hand it to us, and then we go out there and, put it to work in the meetings. We put it to work on the field. So it takes a lot of people to get it organized, and then the coaches do a good job. Obviously we meet every day to make sure everyone's on the same page, and then, you've got to get a lot of work done in a short period of time because you're getting your, 10 minutes, 12 minutes, 7 minutes, whatever it is, in the practice day to work sometimes 2 phases of the games.
When you talk about getting freshmen ready, how would you compare the difficulty of having a freshman ready to play and you trust him inside versus outside?
As far as linebackers
go?
It's obviously inside, and I've coached both positions in this system. Inside, you're like the quarterback, okay? You have to set the defense, you have to communicate, you have to talk to the secondary, you have to talk to the front. You're what ties everything in. So there's a lot of moving parts, and there's a lot of things that have to happen by your verbalization and communication. Not that an outside backer couldn't do it, but there's not as much communication. Usually they're listening to a call to tell them how to play whatever technique and alignment. So as far as freshmen coming in and playing those positions, it's hard for a freshman to come in, okay, but they can all do it because it's not really the fundamentals, the skills, and all those type things. It's they're learning a new language. They may call it a front, over at one place, and we call it flex here. Well, to them, it takes a few times for it to register in their head. So a lot of times it just depends on how fast that guy can transition from the verbalization communication part of it.
Is that the biggest challenge for a guy like Q right now?
No, he's pretty sharp. He actually knows what to do. He can verbalize. He can, call things. When we bring guys in, even though they may not be running the show, we will eventually graduate them into calling it. I'm like, okay, Q, set the front, set the pressure, set the cut, whatever it is, to get them used to doing that. He doesn't really have a problem with that. His deal is just a transition of speed, the reps in practice. The tempo, the intensity, those type deals. you know, are things that he's transitioning with right now, and he's done a good job for the most part. I mean, it's not like he's struggling in any way. It's just, you know, yeah, it is. You go play 48 minutes in a high school game, you play 60 an hour, so you're playing a whole quarter of football in a game. Then, you know, so you got to prepare for that.
You talk about him having good days and bad days. How do you kind of keep him from not getting,
staying even keel? And that's not just him. That's every guy. You know, sometimes you tell the guys, look, when you come inside the building, you got to leave whatever's going on, you know, outside. You know, it's like a backpack. You drop it off. You come in the door. You go to work, and then on the way back out, you pick it back up. You know, and kind of life comes on. So a lot of it's just, you know, you encourage them, you talk to them, you bring them over and you meet with them. You know, sometimes one-on-one. Sometimes how are you? You know, you've got to realize that they're a person too, and you got to figure out what makes them tick and what makes them work. And every one of them are different, you know. So, you know, it's not really anything in particular. You just hit on a lot of things you've experienced before as a coach.
Of the guys who didn't get a lot of playing time last year, who's some guys this spring that have sort of made you say, oh, okay.
You know, I think Shannon Reed's had a good spring. I think he's done a really good job. He's becoming more comfortable in the defense. You know, trying to think, you know, obviously I talked about Will earlier, Daniel, obviously. You know, Q coming in new. And then, you know, there are a few guys that are non-scholarship guys that they've done well. You know, they give some depth. You know, they create some opportunities on special teams and things like that. So, you know, it's kind of hard to name them all. They've all really done a good job. You know, and every day is a progression in what we're trying to get to in the end.
When you talk about, you know, the recruiting aspect of it, a guy like Crouch that has so much eyes on him and so much of a spotlight, how do you handle that with him coming in?
You know, when they get here, you coach them. I mean, you don't treat them any different. You know, you don't try to de-recruit them. You don't try to build them up. I mean, you just coach them the way you are and your personality is, because the one thing about young people is they know whenever you're trying to pull the wool over their eyes, let's just say, you know. So you have to be who you are. You have to coach with the style you coach. The biggest thing is you have to learn how they learn and how they respond to the coaching. You know, are they guys where if you're loud, they're okay? Do they shut down? You know, so there's a lot of things like that. You just have to learn their personality in a day-to-day setting, because in the recruiting process, you don't see them every day. So that transition, and then once you figure that out, then a lot of times you start coaching them the way that they, you know, their mindset is.
How long does that take?
You know, it probably takes you a month to figure them out as a person, you know, and then you have learning styles you have to deal with. So as you're around them more and you see them presenting the information, you understand whether they're, you know, visual, auditory, whatever, you know. So then you kind of target in those areas. But it's like, I mean, I taught high school, and when they teach you in education, you know, you have to teach the whole room. You can't teach the upper and lower. You know, you've got to teach all three levels. So that's all we do is teach football. So you have to do it the same way.
With all three levels kind of tied together on defense, what's your evaluation of the defensive line this spring? I mean, it's practically brand new.
Yeah. You know, those guys have done a good job. Coach Rocker does a good job with those guys every day. I know Coach Pruitt's had a focus because, like you said, it's a kind of a new unit with Shy and Kyle kind of, you know, losing them, and Alexis to graduation. So those guys have got some big shoes to fill, but they've done a good job. We've got more depth there than we had last year. Like, you know, some transfers that are here with Aubrey, and then, you know, some young guys that played sparingly last year, you know, John Mincy and Greg Emmett Gooden, guys like that. But they've had a good spring, you know. Every position's got work. You know, it'll always walk off the field feeling like you didn't get enough time to get all the work in. So, but they've done a good job. Coach Rocker coaches them well.
One linebacker not mentioned is J.J. Peterson. You know, he hadn't been out there the last couple of practices. What's kind of the latest evaluation of him?
He's done really well. You know, J.J., you know, kind of got here a little late last year, so he's kind of behind a little bit. J.J. learns well, too. You know, he's had a really good spring. He came out, ran around well, and the good thing with him is the all-season allowed him to get in shape. You know, he wasn't quite in the shape that the other guys were because he missed the summer and about the first month of fall camp. So he was able to run around and do a lot of good things. We're really pleased with where he is. You know, so he's had a good spring so far, too.
With Darren not here for spring, and obviously the news that he might never play again, have you seen some of the younger guys start to realize, hey, my role might be even bigger initially than I expected it to be?
With who was that you said?
With Darren not being here?
Well, yeah, I mean, what that did, Darren was kind of the older guy in the room, you might say, and, he was kind of a quiet leader. So, yeah, it sort of put some of the, I won't say the pressure, but it's put some of the burden and some of the responsibility on a lot of other guys. So they did have to step up and fill some voids because, he's a really sharp guy, and a lot of times when he was on the field, he was sort of running the show. Allow some other guys to kind of grow up a little bit, not depend on, one guy out there kind of handling everything.
Who have you seen kind of grow up the most of those guys?
I think Will Ignat's done a good job. He's grown up well, and Shannon Reed. I can't say there's any guy in the room, that we're displeased with, but those are probably the two that have grown up the most. And Daniel Tools had a great spring too. I mean, he's done really well.
Final question. After a few weeks of practice and scrimmages, how much you look forward to getting in the stadium and playing a game?
I'm ready to get back. I mean, this place is second to none, and it's always been that way, whether I was coaching somewhere else or I've been coaching here. The fans, the one thing about our fans is that, they show out in numbers, and so hopefully they do the same. We're going to have a lot of recruits here this weekend, and that's big when those guys get to see kind of the passion of the fans. So I'm excited about it. I'm excited to watch our young kids that were recruits. Now they're going to run out on that field, and they're going to be a Tennessee ball, and you'll see it in their eyes a little bit. You hope if they get the skittish it's on a spring game and it's not the first game of the year, but I'm looking forward to it a lot. Right.
Bless you, have one.
We've heard, you mentioned Shannon Reed a couple times today. We've heard his name a few other times this spring. What's he done to sort of step things up? I mean, we can see that he's physically a little bigger, but what have we also seen?
Yeah, I think just comfort in the defense. Last year, you saw flashes, and you just didn't see quite as much consistency in understanding what the scheme was, you might say. Now he gets it. He's playing faster. He's making more plays. Last year he might have been a step late, step behind, or maybe not lined up. And we're really detailed in the way that we are, and our defense is kind of complex. So he's responded to that. And like I said, a lot of it's because it's the fourth time these guys have been presented similar type information, so the cumulative effect is starting to show up a little bit, and you start to see growth.
Thank you, Coach.
Yeah.
Thanks.